You've reached the right place, the right channel. The Underdog Research Channel, and I'm the principal researcher of all things technology, Underdog Researcher, where we put the research over the hype. Let's get started.
What's going on? It's the Underdog Researcher, and this is the Underdog Research Channel. Folks, I am happy to be back. I haven't spoken to you in a few weeks because why do I need to talk to you? You already got all the information you need. Now, I say that because if you know me, you've been rocking with me. You've seen about 28 videos on a project called SWFTCoin. I started back after about a year and a half of hiatus off of online, and I said, let me give you some information that you may need to know about as we move into the bull market for this project. And I believe that's going to happen in 2025. But I didn't just say it. I brought the receipts. So I went through everything. We learned about the patents, the trademarks. We learned about the billionaire investors. We learned about other projects that you never even knew about because you was invested in Swift and you didn't know about MetaPath. We found about Path. We found about the CEOs of those companies. We showed you the connection between this and Puffer Finance and Eden Layer. We kept going on this platform, giving you the most information possible so you can make the decision that you need to make in order to find out if this is a project that you want to put your hard-earned dollars behind. And I believe that we found potentially a diamond in the rough. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what to do. I'm not a financial advisor, and no one should advise you what to do because we have no fiduciary responsibility to you. You have a fiduciary responsibility to yourself. But what I can do is show you the research, plain and simple, black and white, for you to review and make a decision that's in your best interest. But what is this about? Well, now, in this part of SWFTCoin, we are past discussing the potential. And now I would like to do something different. I want to educate you on some concepts about not only this project, but the mindset behind the people who may have invested in this project and to apply this, not just to SWFTCoin, but to other projects. So today we're going to go over a person and concepts that I discussed previously, but I did not focus on because there's a lot of information. So I'm going to focus on that today. So without further ado, let's get started. So we are here, SWFTCoin, you may own digital gold. Now, as you know, SWFTCoin was the first video I did. This video here is one of the #1 videos that you will find online about this project. The very first video I did coming back was on SWFTCoin. Now, why that's important? No, the first is sometimes important, but why it's important to you is I wanted to bring about some information that you may have forgotten about. So let me play a quick video for you and see if you can remember this information. Now, here we go.
One of the trends I see that big brands are rushing to the NFT marketplace. So what other global trends of the NFT space you see and hiding in the next 5 years, how it is interacting with other industries like sports, music, games? I personally believe community is one of the most important thing in Web3. So NFT has been proven to be one of the things that connect human being to a digital asset. And it is NFT who draw us together today to discuss the global trend of the NFTs and how the community will shape the ecosystem.
That was Christina Chen. If this is your first time checking in, folks, I got plenty of information about Christina Chen. Quick overview. Who is she? She is the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer of SWFTCoin. She's one of the Chief Marketing Officer for a project I told you about called MetaPath. She's a chief marketing officer for another project I've been talking about, which I will talk about in more depth if you tune in with me on the advanced research that I'll be releasing on my own platform about this project called MetaPath. And she has been essential to this project. Now, what she said there, I want you to kind of think about. I want that to marinate in you, and I want you to think about community. If you want this particular video to be a short, sweet, to the point, hey, this is what you should do, it's going to the moon, thumbs up, rocket ships, it's not the right video. If you want to kind of research in depth and kind of get a better overview of the concepts behind the project, this video is right for you. Now, what you learned and what she said was that global trends, what are we talking about is globally, what do we see as trends? See, if we can see a trend and we can put ourselves in a position at the beginning of that trend, what the thought process is that as the projects progress and we're in the right place at the right time, we will make money. We will benefit from being the first movers. To do that, though, you have to go through the ups and downs. To do that, though, you have to be in spaces that oftentimes are very scary because no one else is seeing it that way. So I'm going to bring to you a concept of a global trend. But to do that first, I got to remind you about this project. So let's go to the beginning. Shima Capital. What we learned was SWFTCoin has a connection with Shima Capital. That is their CEO right there. Now, Shima Capital is a crypto venture capital founded by Yida Gao and has made nearly 200 startup investments since 2021. I told you that Yida Gao, and here you see him here on Forbes magazine in Los Angeles, California, talking about him, is a partner with this particular area, and he had 15 billion in aggregate deal value with Morgan Stanley, and he was in New York when this happened, and it goes in detail about him forming this Shima Capital. Now, Gaio immigrated from China before graduating from MIT, so he's super smart, he's super motivated, and he did something different. Now, what's the connection with SWFT? Well, as it said here in the article, Yida Gao is the founder of Shima Capital and one of the most prolific investors in Web3 and has invested in over 150 companies since 2021. Now, if you see where I outlined there in black, we found out who did he invest with? Well, Shima Capital raised $200 million, and notable investors with Shima Capital was Dragonfly Capital. I will go further with them. I talked about them previously. Animoca Brands, I can't say enough about them. We've talked about them and why that's important. Bill Ackman, Billionaire, Republic, and others. Now, this was just started in 2021. So what did we learn? What was the connection between Shima Capital and SWFT? Well, here's the connection. Rambo Lane and Christina Chen. Rambo Lane, the CEO of SWFTCoin, and Christina Chen, the CMO of SWFTCoin. In 2022 March, it was reported they were funded and they raised capital called seed capital from Shima Capital. This was disclosed, but we didn't know the amount. I told you in a previous video how much that was. So we see here Shima Capital, who were involved with SWFTCoin, but how were they connected? Through MetaPath. Now, let me go ahead and play for you, if you forgot, a little snippet about MetaPath. we saw just a snippet. What is MetaPath? Because if you don't understand MetaPath, you won't see the connection. And it's not just a connection, it's the connection. See, MetaPath does what Christina Chin said. Global NFTs, global community growth, global trends needs a catalyst, right? We need something to aggregate, bring together multiple different areas into Web3. They being Rambo and Christina Chin, started MetaPath. And Shima Capital was the funders, the backing, with Animoca Brands, Bill Ackman, billionaire, and the hedge funds. We saw that Dragonfly, billionaire. We've talked about that. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show you why this connection is important, because there was other individuals involved. Now, why is that important to us? Because we saw that when we researched MetaPath, we found that MetaPath, as it says on MetaPath's own site, is the intellectual property of Swift blockchain, an all-in-one cryptocurrency platform, instant cross-chain swaps and payments. You know, it's funny because we get lost in the words. You get so much information thrown at you. And what we found out, me and myself and others in this space, is oftentimes people say, hey, let's keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. If you notice, most time when we look at research, people don't really research. They just tell you wind moon. And then they tell you it's a scam. That's the only two options they give you. What I want to give you is intellectual power to evaluate and analyze the project that you likely may have put your money into to see why. So if you were speaking to someone else, you can say, I can tell you why I believe that this project has a global trend that will happen in the future, because I believe in the foundations of the project, the thinking of the project. So that's the connection. Let's talk about this. Now that we know that MetaPath, this aggregator of not only NFTs, but cross-chain swaps, and look at that at the top, the and symbol, and payments. You know, folks, I'm not an English major, but they call that a coordinating conjunction. And not just, but and. It's a coordinating conjunction. It adds to it. So we can't just look at it for NFTs. We must look at it for the payments. Now, what does that matter to you? Swift blockchain is the next generation, the hub, the cross-chain transfer platform, and payment network. See, Swift blockchain's technology combines. I mean, it brings together blockchain, machine learning. You know, that means artificial intelligence, folks, and big data. That's three things right there. It enables direct swaps between over 200 cryptocurrencies. Folks, that's way higher now. And what does it offer the global market? It offers Swift Pay, offers fast, affordable, secure cryptocurrency experience. So we see now and have established the foundations of Swift blockchain. We don't have to go with little rocket ships as the foundation of our knowledge. We can go with the facts. I didn't make it up. You see it right there, but that's still not what I'm here to talk to you about. I'm just getting the foundation. Now let's get into it. The word MetaPath is not something that Swift blockchain came up with. See, the word meta means many. Path means a area in which you go. Many paths, meta paths. They utilize this in the medical field. They utilize this in science, and they utilize the name, which has significance. You don't have to guess. Meta paths means multiple paths in which what will happen. We have transfers of money. We have fast, secure payments. We have multiple cryptocurrencies connected. We have multiple blockchains connected. all to the hub. You see the center of SWIFT through MetaPaths, connecting the global markets. Christina Chen told you this when she discussed why they started MetaPath, and now we understand why they got the backers from Shima Capital. Let's try to understand better though. Why did Shima Capital have investors from Animoca Brands, the largest Web3 developer? Why did Shima Capital have investors from Dragonfly, a banking institution in the United States and all over the world? Why did Bill Ackman, this hedge fund billionaire, invest, and the other billionaires I previously talked about? You saw the article. Why did Yito Gao go to those investors and pitch that you should be a part of us creating this Shima Capital, and I am going to invest? One of the first investments of the 150 companies that I put $200 million of your money into will be MetaPath, and MetaPath is started by Shima Capital? No, it was started by SWIFT. But you already know that if you've been rocking with me. Let's get something new. So let's talk about this. So we see that MetaPath is the leading, most efficient platform. And we see that what it does, it connects marketplaces, blockchains, decentralized exchanges, cross-chain exchanges, bridges. Now, it connects the virtual world with the real world. We see this is true. I'm setting this foundation. We see that here on Shima Capital's own website, it shows you who they invested in, what the 150 companies they invested in. We see right there with your own eyes, MetaPath was one of them. Now, April 17th, 2022, what does this article say to go further to establish this foundation? Now, if you staying with me, we're about to transition into the real conversation I'm having today. This is just a foundation to catch those up who may have never seen my 28 previous videos. After this part, we're getting into the actual concept of this video, and you don't want to miss it. So listen to this, and then let's get started with the information you need to hear. In August 17th of 2022, Shima invests in the earliest rounds of blockchain startups across all verticals with check sizes of 500,000 to 2 million. So now we know exactly how much they invested, between 500,000 to 2 million. See, before in 2021, when MetaPath was formed, they received an undisclosed amount of money. Now I'm disclosing this to you. They received between $500,000 and $2 million. That's a lot of money. There's no fake news there, folks. That's money into their pockets to create MetaPath. But what happened? The areas of focus for Shima Capitals include, but are not limited to, consumer. Here it goes. EG means examples, decentralized identity. Okay, I'm going to say this again because that's going to be important. Decentralized identity. You think I'm going to repeat myself? I am. Decentralized identity. Pay attention. Here we go. Social media. Content ownership. I'm going to repeat again. This is one of those military tests. You know, I'm a veteran. When I stump my foot, you know you need to pay attention to it. Take a look at that part. Content ownership. This will be the discussion we have today. Content ownership is one of the pieces. Let's keep going. Decentralized infrastructure, data platforms, blockchain automation, cross-chain communication, and next generation blockchain technology. And in black, right there, it says, as crypto-focused venture capitals continue to raise massive billion-dollar-plus funds, we identified a pocket of opportunity to support Web3 founders with their first institutional checks that are considered too small for other tier one investors. Now, that was said by Shima Capital's CEO, Yito Gao. So I want to bring this to you. See, a part of the story is to understand the why. And you just understood the why. So you may have invested any time before this because someone put a rocket ship emoji on a thumbnail on the front of their video. And they said to you, you know what? I believe Swift Coin is going to go 1,000,000x. And then they said, you know what? I think Swift Coin is going to go 10,000x. But I didn't do that. I never said that. I said I would tell you about the research and let you be the intellectual individuals that you are. And by your seat of the pants wisdom, choose based on what you believe is the truth. And based on this article, do you believe that this is the truth? Is it true that Shima Capital stated and backed companies like MetaPath, who is owned by SwiftCoin, because they identified a pocket of opportunity to support Web3 founders like Ramble Land with their first institutional checks that are considered too small for tier one investors? That's what Shima Capital was quoted saying. Now, they take an opposite approach to spend the necessary resources to provide a portfolio of companies with surgical, that means very precise support, typically found with larger funds. So they're telling us their mentality behind why they invested. See, you may know your mentality, but I want to know why someone would put $2 million into Swift. I want to know, in just 2 years ago, why they were essential to the funding to create Swift. We know they gave 500,000 to 2 million, and they told us why. They said a couple of reasons, and we need to think about those. So let's go back to the top. 2 things I want you to take from this sentence. I'll make it easy for you. Content ownership, decentralized identity, and social media. That's 3 things, but it's all right. We'd rather have more than less. So now, folks, that was the foundation. Welcome to the Underdog Research channel. This is the video. Let's get started. We need to go back in time to the beginning when I brought to you a video called The Billionaire Blueprint. This is what I said. The faces that are appearing on your screen, then you do not know the Billionaire Blueprint for SwiftCoin. Each and every face on this screen is directly and indirectly associated with the future and current success of Swift. Y'all remember this video? That was part 1 of the Billionaire Blueprint, ended up being 2 parts. And then I did the MetaPath part. And I had already talked to you about the patents and trademarks. I showed you a particular person. I said, each person on here you need to know about. But do you remember this person? You see, I went over this person very little, but I did give you a few bits of information. But I think I didn't do a great job of truly focusing on what their role is. This is a particular person that we're going to talk about today. And we're going to remember Shima Capital saying that they had 3 areas that they found as a surgical niche. That means specific, efficient niche that they invested 500,000 to 2 million in. What were the 3 areas? Decentralized identity, social media, and what type of content? You remember that part? Let's talk about this. Who is this individual and why does it matter? He wants to pave the way for a future in which all Americans can claim their data as property right and receive payment if they choose to share their data with platforms. Exactly what MetaPath said on their website. Exactly what Christina Chen said. Who is this? This is Andrew Yang. And as you recall, and if you don't recall, then I'll let Shima Capital tell you themselves. They said they were invested in Shima Capital in 2021 when they raised $200 million for these 150 startups. They said they got the money from a few people, Bill Ackman, which I mentioned before, the multi-billionaire. And you see him at the top, in the top left. Alan Howard, billionaire, hedge fund. And Andrew Yang, the former presidential candidate. And Animoca Brands and Dragonfly. Well, this video today is about Andrew Yang. We're going to talk about why he was invested, why he, 2 years ago, when everyone else was in the midst of COVID and not investing, crypto had crashed, that he put his hard-earned money. And to do that, we need to talk about this right here, this part, data property rights. You know that this is why he invested, because Shima Capital told you this. As I just showed you at the beginning, there was 3 things. August 17th of 2022. Remember, Shima Capital article stated the areas of focus include, but are not limited to, decentralized identity, social media, content ownership, gaming and metaverse. See, we've talked about Animoca Brands. We've talked about network effects. We talked about ownership, but we need to talk about that content ownership. That's what we're talking about. That's why you need to look at this project a little bit differently. Data property rights. Here we go. See, this individual, Andrew Yang, has an estimate worth of $1 million according to Forbes, between $834 to $2.4 million according to the Wall Street Journal, and between $3 and $4 million according to Newsweek. And this was taken in 2020. Open Secrets estimated as being as low as $584,000. So we know he's a millionaire, and at the lowest estimate, he has over $500,000. This was from 2020. In 2021, we know, based on Shima Capital's own articles, that this individual, the former presidential candidate of the United States, 1 year later invested money into this fund of Shima Capital. And Shima Capital gave this company, MetaPath, between $500,000 and $2 million. And MetaPath is owned by Swift. So why should you consider SWFTCoin? Because it talks about a global trend that we need to talk about. Now, Andrew Yang, I didn't give a lot of attention to it, so we're going to give some attention to it now. Andrew Yang has a concept and a thought that he wants people to know. The war on normal people. The truth about America's disappearing jobs and why universal basic income is our future. Now, I will not today talk about UBI, universal basic income. I want to stay focused on the data property ownerships and data property rights, content rights. That is what I'm talking about, because you as the consumer have Swift and you need to know the connection. But I will talk about what he said and why he is invested in Swift through Shima Capital, because it's his own words. This is what he says.
You have to find out how they're monetizing our information and then get a fair share of that. Right now, it's difficult to determine precisely because we don't know what they're doing with our information.
Technology companies are selling and reselling our data, and we're none the wiser. We don't know what's happening. We just hope for the best. And we're seeing none of that value. At this point, our data is worth more than oil. If that's the case, then we should be benefiting from it, not just the companies. It's our data, it's our value, it's our property. Getting us a share of that value will be an immense game changer for many, many Americans. It's not just about the money, though. It's about the control, it's about the autonomy, it's about the agency. It's our data, we should know what's happening to it, and we should be able to change our preferences and even turn it off if we wish. Right now, we have this lack of data dignity. There's a tyranny of the tech companies, and then we're just looking up and hoping for the best. We can change that. There is more value to be generated if we buy in and accept it, because right now a lot of the data that's getting sold and resold is anonymized. It's anonymous. But imagine if I said, look, if you decide to resell the data, I'll actually answer questions from that vendor. I'll actually add value. Then the value that the company's getting and the value that we're getting can shoot way up. And that does correspond to our willingness to participate.
what is your response to criticisms that it's only going to lead to more problems rather than fewer?
If it was on the companies where we owed them money, then we know there'd be absolutely no issue. But it's because they are taking our data and profiting from it that it's somehow an administrative burden that it really doesn't make any sense.
Data property rights, SWFTCoin. See, if you've invested in SWFTCoin based on it transfers NFTs, it transfers cryptocurrencies, you're missing that this data that goes with it is more valuable than oil. Your data, everyone's data. This is the digital gold. This is what it does. You see, every time you have SWIFT connected to these multiple blockchains, multiple cryptocurrencies, and financial institutions and consumers, it tells you more. Metadata, data about data. What does it tell you? It not only tells you that you own a particular NFT, that you transfer Bitcoin, it tells you you own these things. It tells you what things you're interested in. See, Google knew this a long time ago. Amazon knew this a long time ago. Banks know this a long time ago. Marketing agencies know this a long time ago. Customer acquisition is a concept of companies buying and spending money to obtain new customers. Your data is more valuable than gold. It's digital gold. You are invested in a project that's connected to another project because it owns it, MetaPath. And the primary project, the core, can transfer data to multiple things, including decentralized and centralized. It also has connected itself by creating MetaPath, which connects to more things. See, the bigger the network, the stronger the data. Wouldn't you like to own a piece of Google? If you could go back in time in the early 1990s and own a piece of Google, would you buy it? Of course you would. So are you buying the new digital gold? Are you investing in the future, the global trend of companies using your data and paying you and others for ownership? Now, Andrew Yang tells you the war on us normal people, is by these big companies. These big companies taking something from you of value and treating it like it's nothing for you, but when it actually is worth something. Let me show you something real quick. Let me show you something that I bought. Now, recently, as you know, I went to Hawaii. See this? I'm gonna put it close to the camera. This is gold. No joke, no lie. This is gold. A solid piece of gold. How much you think it's worth? No games, no joke. Showing it to you for those who can see it, letting the light hit off of it. This is gold. Now, here's the thing about this piece of gold. How much you think it's worth? This piece of gold is pyrite, fool's gold. Now, what makes fool's gold different than regular gold? Well, pyrite is a mixture of different metals that has a goldish tint. Looks pretty, but it's still gold. Just not the one that people have given value. Until recently, they found out that you can use this pyrite to mine for real gold. You can use this pyrite for lots of things. So in the future, this thing that we've been calling fool's gold may just be one of the most valuable metals you can get. There's plenty of it, but it has more uses now that technology is here. But that's another video for another time. But why does it matter? See, they are giving us, they being the companies, fool's gold. In their discussion of your data, they're telling you that your data is worth nothing. But in fact, it's not fool's gold. It's actually digital oil. And SWFTCoin through MetaPath is connected to it. And instead of giving you the value, you don't own it. They took it from you. But you're in a project that you can get that value back. Now, as he said in his discussion, these companies, if you owe them money, you will be going to court and they'll make it a big point to pay them back. But they owe you money and you don't even know that you're owed. Isn't that a shame?
Things I was thinking, even as we were looking at fracking and all these debates about it, but no one was questioning who should own it. It's all these miles on the ground, but it's privately owned. What other resources are there that we can say we collectively own and should be given to us as a UBI?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Alaska has a petroleum dividend of, let's call it, it ranges based on the year, but let's call it a couple $1,000s per individual per year, and it reduces poverty. It helps kids. So the public resources that strike me as things we should jump on, the first obvious one is our data, which right now is getting sold for hundreds of billions of dollars a year. I used to say when I was running for president, it's like, who got your data check? And then people would laugh and be like, well, the data check went somewhere. And so if we get our own data back, that could be the beginnings of it. I think AI is going to change a lot of things, and AI is not going to pay a lot in tax. Like those 700 newly unemployed customer service workers used to pay tax. The company that makes the AI is probably not going to, and so I think you need an AI tax. And the easiest way to do that is to tax cloud computing or GPUs. By the way, one estimate I saw is that we might use 10% of the power grid on training AI, because you're running massive servers, like crunching trillions of data points. I know. I mean, that's a thinker, right? Oh, look, see, look at that. It's a low estimate. Some kind of way for that value to come back to us. And in the absence of that, it makes me sad because our tax system is so dumb and so easily gamed. And one of the things that I campaigned on was like, we should have a value-added tax. And the reason why value-added tax is kept off the table is because the corporates know they can't game that thing. Every other developed country has one except for us.
So did you hear that? I just kind of started the video. I didn't even go through it. This is May 27th of 2024. Andrew Yang talks about the Universal Basic Income, UBI for short. Now, I won't go into detail about it, but I got to connect it to our conversation because what the first thing he said is when he ran for president, the concept has not changed. He used Alaska, for example. They have a universal basic income, a UBI. Each month, if you're a resident of Alaska, apparently they get a check for being an Alaska resident. A lot of other countries do that too. But what do they use? Alaska uses oil. He is saying data is that next digital oil. He is saying AI is that next digital oil. He said what you should do, since we're losing jobs, most jobs, clerical jobs, they take 40% to 60% from what I've read and what he stated of the American job market. We can't keep talking about we're going to keep these jobs. AI is making these jobs obsolete. Why does it matter to you? Because he's saying if we tax cloud computing, tax an AI tax, and then give back the consumers their money they're owed for their digital data that the companies have been owing us, each month we can share in the profits of that. Digital property ownership, digital data ownership. That is the concept that's connected to SWIFT. SWFTCoin has the ability to do exactly what he wants. And that's likely why he invested into Shima Capital, who invested in SWIFT. They came to them, I'm sure, Shima Capital, and they was pitched by SWIFT like, hey, we are in the space that you want to be, Animoca Brands, Bill Ackman. Here's our pitch. You said when you ran for president, you want digital ownership. We're going to give you a network that makes the data transfers cross-chain to centralized and decentralized, from payments to data about data. We will be able to tell you what they like, what they buy, just like Google. And we will create the network, and you invest in us. We'll connect both centralized and decentralized. We'll give you this data, and we can work towards your plan. Animoco Brands said it too about digital property ownership in Web3. Bill Ackman's been saying it for years. This is the value. Instead of Alaska giving oil kickbacks, if you will, to their residents, we as American citizens and those who benefit from SWFTCoin, if we look at the future plans, we can see the global trend that will be in the minds of these investors. When they turn the switch that people start getting money for their data, SWFTCoin is in the position to win. And any other project that's associated who has the same type of concept, such as Animoco Brands. We saw this here. Yang, in June 2022 of 2020, he called it the Data Dividend Project. Yang Data Dividend Project is a new program tasked with establishing data as property rights under privacy laws in California, Consumer Privacy Act, all across the country. The program hopes to mobilize over 1 million people by the end of the year, focusing primarily on California's, and pave the way for a future in which all Americans can claim their data as property right and receive payment if they choose to share their data with platforms. We're not talking about concept, folks. Right there in California, they've been doing this since 2020. Data property rights. Who is a candidate running for president from California? We found out as well that through John Shin, another person backed huge in California, created successful projects, bringing in technology connected to the current administration as well. Why is this important to you? Because crypto is purple. Your data is valuable. And if you don't acknowledge it because you have a bias, then you're biasing yourself. Don't let these big companies make money off of you without you even considering some type of proposal that you can make money off of your own stuff. That's your stuff. Forget it. Right now, First Amendment, Second Amendment, what about a new amendment for our digital ownership of our own data and make it a property so we can get a universal basic income from our new digital gold, your digital oil? That's what's already being done. That's what we can see here. SWIFT is at the middle of this. In California, it's not a concept anymore. So I'm going to go a little bit further. Now, let's keep going and talk about this concept of digital data ownership. Now we see the connection of SWIFT, and you now know that you're in the midst of a project that has a long-term goal, not just a short-term. You may not see an exponential boom, but what we see is them continue to grow. See that network growth, every time you see Bridgers and SWFTCoin on X, or Twitter, AKA formerly known as, and you see, we got another one, we got another company, we got another blockchain connected to us. I want you to say, ching, ching. They're growing networks while you are paying attention to the growth of the price. Think about it. The bigger the network, the more valuable the network, the more valuable the projects will be, so that when a big companies and banks want to acquire them later on or use their network, they're already in a position, and you are too, by being associated with this project through your investment into SWIFT. Now let's see what else they said. Check this out.
So one of the parallels you made is data as oil. And that's one of the things that long-term really honestly scares the shit out of me. Because if you think about what we do with oil, we bucket it, we price it, we fix the price, and then we kill each other over it.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a huge problem for like humanity. And so, as we were talking earlier in the day about data equality is something that's already falling apart on a global level. Walls are getting put up in other parts of the world. And so I'm curious, as you think about maintaining our AIs or our automation or our machines' access to information where the information might reside in another country, obviously data equality or data access becomes an important part of like future industry success.
Yeah.
And so how do you think about negotiating or coming to an agreement with the rest of the world about how to treat data?
This is one of the biggest issues we have to get our arms around in the coming years, and we're just at the beginning of it, as most of us know. So our current approach towards data is this. It's a free-for-all. Companies get our data the way they get our data, and then they sell it and package it and repackage it and resell it. And we are sort of on the outside looking in. Like maybe we clicked a box at some point that we ignored. Otherwise, we're like, I just want to read your article, or I just want to see my friends, like click, click, click. And then our data is now getting spun out in various ways. It's still not as robust as the data in China because they have a more lax view about privacy, and the companies are much more aggressive, and the government is in on it. So you imagine that's like the data dials turned all the way up to 10 or 11. And for us, it's the companies just doing what they will with our data. Now, here's one of the saving graces, is that right now some of our data is getting sold and resold. A lot of it is anonymous, and that data would actually become more valuable if it was individualized and personalized. Now, how the heck can you have that happen? The only way you have that happen is if the individual has actually an interest in sharing their data and agrees to do so and is willing. Now, the only way they'll be willing to do so is if they're getting something in return. So that, to me, is the direction we have to go. I'm in the camp, just to speak for myself, like you can have my data if you make my life easier, as long as you don't like abuse it or do something, like I don't get spammed a lot or any of that stuff. And so we all have different data preferences. What we need to do is we need to have the data be ours and then be able to express that preference and hope that if you are even willing to individualize and personalize it, the value of that data actually shoots up and you can get a little bit in return. So this is, to me, the direction we have to start going. We have to start letting ourselves make decisions about this data. And it starts with acknowledging that the data is ours. Right now, that's not even clear. Right now, like, who owns my web surfing history? In theory, it might be me, it might be the browser, it might be, the company that issued the cookies on my browser. And so, as a country, we have to start saying first, who owns it? I would argue that we own it. And then, if we own it, then how are other companies using it? How are companies benefiting from it? What might we get in return? Like, are we allowed to opt out? These are some of the most important considerations of our time. And to me, our country should be asking these questions and asking us, the American people, what our preferred approach is, as opposed to right now essentially having the default be we're bystanders, the companies are making the decisions for us.
Data ownership is one of the core things of SWIFT. I just went through the conversation that you needed to know about, actually, right? Data property rights. And we went through Andrew Yang. And we first brought this to your attention, we meaning that I, the community, when I did the full plan with the Billionaire Blueprint. I didn't ever focus on Andrew Yang, but now you see another reason that you need to consider not only SWIFT as a token, SWIFT as a blockchain, but SWIFT as a concept that you have integrated yourself by your investment, likely to be in a position that in the next few years, when this conversation continues with data property ownership and AI tax, that you're in a position that you're connected to a project that already has laid a foundation. So that is important. Now let's switch gears, because we're going to talk about two different things. Data property rights. Andrew Yang, who's associated with Shima Capital, which invested $500,000 to $2 million into SWIFT. MetaPath, which is owned by SWIFT, the intellectual property of SWIFT. Now let's switch gears. Who else did we talk about when we came to SWFTCoin? Okay, so I want to go ahead and talk about this part, but we went through the first 45 minutes and we went through part one of the series on data, property, rights. But I don't want to overwhelm you. I want to stay on that concept. That's where we're at. But we talked about another part, what is data rights as well, a digital property, which I'm going to do on part two of the series. I'm going to give you about 3 to 4 hours, and you're going to go to the link in the description of this video, click add, and add me to your list of content and researchers you want to see. So that means add me, subscribe to the channel, and get the notifications, set it for all, and then you will see in about 3 to 4 hours me come back to you part two. So let's talk to you real quick. I'm going to the chat. Are there any questions that you have before we see the second part? Because we're on this knowledge era of our lives now. We don't want to be in a position where we're asking someone about this in 5 years. I want you to be ahead of it. So I'm turning to you right now. You have any questions about digital property rights? If you're the community, go ahead and put a comment and I will try to address it right now. If not, then tune back with me in the next 3 to 4 hours. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and press notifications all, and you'll see a link and you're going to get the part two of this because we're just getting started with this concept. What questions do you have? I'm looking now. I want to first say before we go is I want to thank a few people who came to support. I see your monetary support, Hydrado, Terrell, and Papa Kev. Thank you very much for participating, but also supporting the channel. Everything that you provide to this channel will be helpful for me to grow with not only equipment, but also support me starting my own platform in which I can give you this information. To give you more information, it costs money, and that your support is appreciated. So please support the channel. Hit that super thanks, hit that super chat if you will, if you want to support financially as well. All right, that's all I have. I don't see any questions. Thank you for being here. Tune in and come back. Share this with a friend. 3 to 4 hours. You got a break. Part two of this conversation about the digital gold. If you're interested in how to get into SWFTCoin, download Coinbase at the time in which this video is being recorded and you're hearing it, then Coinbase is an American institution where you can get it, and there's other places as well, and you can get SWFTCoin on that particular platform. There's other platforms as well, and so I really appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. I see friends and family here watching today, and I'll see you in 3 to 4 hours, folks. And until next time, you know who this is. This has been your researcher of this particular channel, the Underdog Research Channel. See you in 3 hours for part two.
You've reached the right place, the right channel. The Underdog Research Channel. And I'm the principal researcher of all things technology, Underdog Researcher, where we put the research over the hype. Let's get started.